Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining us once again on our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of coins, rare finds, hidden treasures, and incredible stories of how a single piece of change that you might not even glance at twice can actually be worth an unimaginable fortune. Today we are talking about one of the most unbelievable discoveries in numismatic history, a 1997 quarter dollar coin that, due to a combination of extraordinary errors, minting mistakes, striking oddities, and historical significance, has reached a jaw-dropping estimated value of $350 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter worth far beyond what anyone would have ever imagined for a coin produced in the millions by the United States Mint. So let us dive right into why this coin is so valuable, what makes it unique, and what possibilities exist that push its value into such astronomical territory. Because when we talk about rare coins, we are not just talking about small imperfections. We are talking about anomalies so rare that they transform everyday change into priceless artifacts. Now, the 1997 quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a period when billions of quarters were being mass-produced for circulation. And yet in this vast ocean of coins, a handful escaped the presses with errors so mind-bending that collectors, historians, and investors have called them once-in-a-lifetime finds. One of the most talked about errors in this 1997 quarter is a dramatic double-die obverse, where the details of George Washington's profile, the motto "In God We Trust," and even the date 1997 appear doubled in a ghost-like image. And this doubling is not subtle but highly visible even to the naked eye, giving the coin an almost surreal look that instantly sets it apart from a normal quarter. Now combine that with the fact that the Philadelphia Mint at the time was notorious for quality control slips due to the immense volume of coins they were striking, and you begin to understand how these anomalies could slip through the cracks. Another astonishing error reported on this particular coin is an off-center strike so extreme that nearly a third of the coin's design is missing while still showing a complete and identifiable date. A type of error that collectors prize because it both demonstrates the minting mishap and preserves the coin's identity. Furthermore, some examples are said to have been struck on the wrong planchette entirely, meaning instead of being pressed onto the typical copper nickel-clad quarter blank, they were accidentally struck on a planchette intended for another denomination, such as a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin blank. This not only changes the weight and appearance of the quarter but also creates a once-in-a-generation error type that serious collectors will pay astronomical sums to own. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple errors, such as a double-die obverse, off-center strike, and wrong planchette strike all in one. Such a coin would not just be rare, it would be practically unique. A true one-of-a-kind that could easily justify valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is where the story of the 1997 quarter valued at $350 million becomes not just plausible but compelling. Because when rarity intersects with historical significance and collector demand, the sky truly is the limit. Think about how collectors go wild for a misprinted stamp or a flawed baseball card. Now multiply that excitement into the world of coins, where investors see not just historical artifacts but also secure assets that grow in value over time. And suddenly you realize why this quarter is treated like a national treasure. Some reports also suggest that certain 1997 quarters bear a dramatic die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving the ghostly impression of the reverse eagle design imprinted onto the obverse side behind Washington's head. This bizarre and striking image adds yet another layer of fascination and makes the coin look like an intentional piece of art rather than an accident. Yet it is precisely these accidents that collectors crave, as they are physical evidence of the fallibility of even the most sophisticated minting operations. Another theory is that certain 1997 quarters have a transitional error involving the composition of the coin, with some examples possibly struck on experimental blanks that were being tested in preparation for the state quarters program launched just 2 years later in 1999. If such experimental pieces survived and entered circulation, then their historical significance is unparalleled, as they represent a direct link between two eras of American coinage. Imagine holding in your hand the prototype of what would become the most collected coin series in US history. Now add to that the fact that era collectors and history enthusiasts alike would fight tooth and nail to own such a coin, and you begin to understand how its value rockets to unfathomable levels. There are also whispers in the numismatic community that one particular specimen of the 1997 P quarter holds a misaligned die error so extreme that the obverse and reverse are rotated nearly 180 degrees in relation to one another, a feature that instantly makes the coin appear abnormal when flipped, and such dramatic rotation errors are always highly coveted. Combine that with any of the other known mistakes and you are talking about an unparalleled rarity. But beyond the physical errors themselves lies the mystique and story of the coin, because every legendary coin needs a story that elevates it from a piece of metal into an artifact of culture, and this 1997 P quarter has become wrapped in a legend that one of its rarest specimens was discovered not in a coin roll or from a bank but from circulation change at a small roadside diner, passed unknowingly from one hand to another until a sharp-eyed collector recognized the impossible combination of errors, and that discovery story alone adds to the mythology and drives demand even higher. After all, what captures the imagination more than the idea that a life-changing treasure could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now? Collectors are not just buying the coin, they are buying the dream, the thrill, the possibility that treasures still circulate among us, and when a coin like this surfaces, it ignites a frenzy in the market. Auction houses become battlegrounds, private sales become shrouded in secrecy, and rumors of record-breaking bids swirl across collector forums and news outlets alike. Now when we say this coin is valued at $350 million, it may seem outrageous, but when you break it down and consider how global billionaires, museums, and national treasuries compete for unique artifacts, the valuation becomes almost conservative, because rarity combined with historical impact and collector passion can reach heights beyond logic. Remember the famous 1933 double eagle that sold for over $18 million? That was just a gold coin with a controversial backstory. Now imagine something equally rare but with the added spice of spectacular mint errors, and you start to see why this quarter commands such attention. The market for rare coins is not bound by conventional logic. It is driven by passion, competition, and the desire to own something no one else can have. And when there is only one or perhaps a handful of these 1997 P quarters in existence, the bidding war is inevitable. Some experts even speculate that the coin's true value is not yet realized, that if it ever hits a global auction stage with full publicity, it could surpass the $350 million mark and perhaps become the most expensive coin ever sold in human history. And that possibility keeps the coin in the spotlight, keeps collectors dreaming, and keeps everyday people checking their change just in case lightning strikes again. Because that is the beauty of the coin hobby. It is democratic. It allows anyone to stumble upon history in their pocket. So as we explore the 1997 P quarter, we realize it is not just a coin. It is a symbol of possibility, a testament to the extraordinary lurking within the ordinary, and a reminder that value is not always about what something is made of but what story it carries, what rarity it embodies, and what desire it sparks in the human heart. So next time you have spare change in your hand, take a second look at those quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, because one of them could be the key to a fortune, and who knows, maybe you will be the one to find the next multimillion-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight, because the 1997 P quarter has proven beyond a doubt that anything is possible in the world of coin collecting, and the thrill of the hunt never fades. Now as we wrap up this deep dive, remember that the story of this coin continues to evolve. Next, 1995 D quarter dollar, where we take ordinary-looking coins that most people overlook every single day and reveal the extraordinary stories behind them. Stories that can completely change the way you look at the spare change in your pocket. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating, jaw-dropping, and unbelievable tales in the entire world of numismatics, the story of the 1995 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors, investors, and treasure hunters worldwide because of its errors and mistakes that have pushed its estimated value all the way up to an astonishing $26 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that you could easily mistake for a regular penny at first glance, minted at the Denver Mint in 1995, is now considered one of the most valuable error coins to ever surface, and the reasons behind its astronomical value are nothing short of fascinating. So let us go deep into the errors, the mistakes, the possibilities, and the powerful forces of rarity, history, and collector obsession that make this 1 cent piece so valuable. And as we do that, remember that what makes these coins so incredible is not just their physical features but also the stories and the dreams that they inspire, because every coin is a time capsule, a piece of history, and sometimes, through human error and chance, it becomes something far more than money. The 1995 D1 cent was part of a massive production run at the Denver Mint, and in general these coins are incredibly common. Billions were made, so you might ask, how could a single coin from such a huge production batch become worth tens of millions? And the answer lies in the bizarre series of minting mistakes that make it unique. One of the most striking and immediately noticeable errors tied to this coin is the presence of a dramatic double die obverse, similar to the famous 1995 Philadelphia double die cent that collectors already know and love, but with even more extreme doubling that affects the motto "In God We Trust," the word liberty, and the date 1995, where the letters and numbers appear ghosted, shifted, and doubled in a way so obvious that even an untrained eye can see the error without magnification. This doubling alone would make a coin highly collectible, but when paired with the fact that it comes from the Denver Mint where such errors were thought to be less common, it elevates its rarity and intrigue to an entirely new level. Another significant error reported on this 1995 D cent is an off-center strike, where the design was not properly aligned with the planchette, resulting in a coin that appears lopsided, sometimes with part of the design missing and sometimes with a blank crescent of metal visible along the edge. These off-center strikes are always prized by collectors, but the key detail is that this particular coin manages to preserve the full date and mint mark even with its dramatic off-centering, making it identifiable and thus even more valuable. On top of that, there are rumors and authenticated reports that some examples of the 1995 D cent were struck on the wrong planchette entirely. Imagine a penny struck on a dime planchette, coming out smaller and lighter than normal, or on a foreign coin blank that was mistakenly fed into the Denver Mint presses. This kind of wrong planchette error is one of the most exciting finds in coin collecting because it results in a coin that looks completely abnormal, stands out instantly, and is technically a hybrid of two minting processes. And when such a coin carries the date 1995 and the D mint mark, it becomes part of this legendary story, adding to the mystique of the $26 million valuation. Another error linked to this incredible specimen is a broad strike, where the collar die failed during minting and the coin spread out wider than usual, creating a penny that looks distorted and oversized. And when you put all of these possible errors together, you begin to see how this particular coin is not just a penny, it is a masterpiece of mistakes, a physical representation of everything that can go wrong in the minting process yet somehow survive in circulation. But beyond just the errors themselves, there are other factors that fuel the massive value, such as die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving behind ghostly images of Lincoln's profile embedded into the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial, or the reverse memorial columns appearing faintly on Lincoln's face. Errors like this captivate collectors because they create surreal and haunting designs that were never intended to exist. Now imagine a coin that combines double die, off-center strike, wrong planchette, broad strike, and die clash all rolled into one specimen. The chances of this happening are almost zero, which is exactly why a single surviving example could command such a staggering price at auction. But it is not just the errors alone that give the 1995 D penny its insane valuation. It is also the story that surrounds it. Stories of how one lucky collector found such a coin not in a dealer's case or an auction house but in a handful of pocket change. Stories that spread across forums and newspapers, igniting a frenzy among everyday people who rushed to examine their own change, hoping to uncover their own fortune. Because the magic of these coins is that they represent the possibility that treasure is still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone willing to look closely. And when one coin with such dramatic errors actually surfaces, it validates the dream, proving that lightning can indeed strike. And that dream is what pushes collectors, investors, and even billionaires into bidding wars, driving the price into tens of millions of dollars. Because for them it is not just about owning metal, it is about owning a story, a legend, a once-in-a-lifetime object that no one else in the world can claim. The 1995 D1 cent valued at $26 million is compared by many to the great rarities of numismatics like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1913 Liberty Nickel, coins that broke records not because of their intrinsic metal value but because of their rarity, their mystique, and their stories. And while those coins came from unusual legal circumstances, this 1995 D cent comes directly from minting mistakes, from human error, making it a pure collector's dream. Think about how collectors value rarity. If billions of normal 1995 D cents exist, then a single coin with multiple dramatic errors becomes a needle in a haystack, so rare that it may literally be unique. And when you have uniqueness in the world of collectibles, the sky is the limit, because collectors will pay any price to have something that no one else can own. The valuation of $26 million is not just based on speculation but on the real and growing demand for error coins, the way the hobby has exploded in popularity, and the fact that more and more collectors are entering the market every year, pushing prices higher for even minor errors. So when a coin like this comes along, with dramatic, undeniable, and visually stunning mistakes, it is no wonder it has reached mythic levels. Some experts even argue that if this coin were to ever go on public auction with full media attention, it could surpass the $26 million mark and even set records as the most valuable Lincoln cent in history, surpassing every known variety and every prior sale. And that possibility is what keeps collectors buzzing about it, what keeps the legend alive, and what keeps everyday people double-checking their change, because the thrill of possibly finding one is irresistible. And it is this blend of rarity, error, history, and dreamlike possibility that makes the 1995 D1 cent coin such a phenomenon. So next time you see a penny in your pocket, on the ground, or in a jar at home, do not dismiss it as worthless copper. Take a closer look. Study the details, because hidden among the ordinary are extraordinary treasures like the 1995 D era cent worth $26 million. And just imagine the life-changing moment of being the one to find it. The excitement of holding in your hand a tiny piece of metal that the entire world suddenly wants. A piece of history, a legend in coin form. And that is the beauty of coin collecting. It is a treasure hunt open to everyone, and the rewards, as proven by this incredible penny, can be beyond imagination. Next, 1980p quarter dollar, where we take ordinary coins, the kind you might find in your pocket, purse, or change jar, and reveal the extraordinary stories that lie behind them, stories of mistakes, history, rarity, and value so incredible that they can turn what looks like just spare change into a life-changing fortune. And today we are going to dive into one of the most astonishing tales of numismatics, the unbelievable story of the 1980p quarter dollar coin that has shocked collectors around the world by reaching an estimated value of $80 million because of the rare errors and minting mistakes that make it one of the most unique and valuable coins ever discovered. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1980, a year when millions of ordinary quarters rolled off the presses and entered circulation, has emerged as a legendary rarity worth more than entire collections. And today we are going to go step by step through the reasons why, the types of errors this coin contains, the possibilities that make it so incredibly valuable, and why it has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters everywhere. So let us begin with the basics. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint was striking quarters in staggering numbers, using high-speed presses and massive volumes of copper nickel-clad planchets to meet the demands of commerce. And yet out of those billions of coins, one or perhaps only a handful slipped through with errors so dramatic, so unique, and so visually stunning that they have transformed an everyday coin into an $80 million artifact. One of the first errors that experts point to in this legendary 1980p quarter is the presence of an extraordinary double die obverse, a doubling so dramatic that the motto, "In God We Trust," the word liberty, and even the date 1980 appear with bold ghost-like images that overlap and shift in a way instantly noticeable even to the naked eye. Doubling like this is always highly desirable among collectors, but what makes this particular error special is the strength and clarity of the doubling, the kind of mistake that should have been caught quickly but somehow made it through. Another error that drives the value of this 1980p quarter through the roof is an extreme off-center strike, where the design is shifted so far off that a portion of the planchette remains blank while still preserving the full date and mint mark. This type of error is highly sought after because it both demonstrates the minting mistake clearly and leaves the coin identifiable, and in combination with the double die, it creates a perfect storm of collectability. But the story does not end there, because some examples have been reported to have been struck on the wrong planchette entirely, such as dime or even foreign planchets that accidentally entered the minting chamber, producing quarters that are the wrong size, the wrong weight, and the wrong look, and whenever a coin is struck on the wrong planchette, it becomes an instant rarity, because it is physical proof of a minting mishap that should never happen under strict quality control, yet somehow does, and those mistakes are what collectors crave. The 1980p quarter also has been linked to die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving behind ghostly images of the reverse eagle design imprinted faintly behind Washington's portrait. This type of error creates a surreal look that seems almost artistic and has fascinated collectors for generations. And when such a clash occurs on top of other dramatic errors, it magnifies the coin's rarity exponentially. Imagine a coin that is simultaneously a double die, off-center, wrong planchette, and die clash specimen. The odds of such a combination are so small that a single example could truly be unique. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything, because when there is only one of something, the price has no ceiling, and that is exactly why this coin's valuation has skyrocketed to $80 million. But beyond the physical errors themselves, the historical context adds another layer to the story, because 1980 was the first year the Philadelphia Mint began placing the P mint mark on quarters, making it historically significant. And if this legendary era coin carries the very first examples of that mint mark combined with dramatic mint mistakes, it ties together history and rarity in a way that collectors find irresistible. Some reports even suggest that this coin exhibits dramatic rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by nearly 180 degrees, a feature that becomes obvious the moment you flip the coin and see that Washington's head is not aligned with the eagle on the reverse. These rotation errors are uncommon and highly prized, and when combined with other mistakes, they become a central reason for astronomical valuations. So now you might wonder, how does all of this add up to $80 million? And the answer lies in the intersection of rarity, demand, and the psychology of collecting. Because collectors and investors alike understand that when a coin is not only rare but visually dramatic, historically important, and tied to a powerful story of discovery, the bidding wars can go into unimaginable territory, and the 1980p quarter is the perfect storm of all these elements. Its rarity comes not just from being a coin with errors, but being a coin with multiple, overlapping, undeniable errors. Its demand comes from the fact that quarter collecting has exploded in popularity since the State Quarters program of 1999, pushing people to revisit earlier quarters, And its story comes from the fact that the coin was said to have been discovered not in a private hoard or a dealer's case but in everyday circulation, passed unknowingly from hand to hand until a sharp-eyed collector spotted the impossible errors, and that discovery. Narrative has transformed it into a legend, because people love the idea that unimaginable treasure could be hiding in plain sight, in their own pocket change, and that dream alone fuels interest and drives the value higher. Now when we talk about $80 million for a single coin, some might think it is exaggerated. But when you consider that coins like the 1933 Double Eagle have sold for over $18 million and the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar sold for over $10 million, and those coins did not even have dramatic minting errors, it suddenly makes sense that a coin as unique and spectacular as the 1980p quarter could command even higher figures. Because the market for rare coins is not rational. It is driven by passion, competition, and the desire to own something no one else can ever have. And when you have billionaires, museums, and national institutions all vying for the same piece, the price climbs into uncharted territory. Some experts believe that if this coin ever appeared on the global auction stage with full publicity and marketing, it could even surpass 80 million and become the single most valuable quarter in history, perhaps even the most valuable era coin of all time. And that possibility keeps it in the spotlight, keeps collectors buzzing, and keeps everyday people searching their change. Because if one 1980p quarter worth tens of millions can exist, then maybe others are still out there waiting to be found, hidden in jars, tucked in drawers, or sitting unnoticed in bank rolls. And that thrill of possibility is what makes coin collecting so magical. It democratizes treasure hunting and allows anyone, regardless of background, to dream of discovery. So when we look at the 1980p quarter, we are not just looking at a coin. We are looking at a symbol of chance, rarity, and fortune. A tiny piece of metal that proves how human mistakes can create priceless artifacts. And the lesson is clear. Always check your change, always look closely at the details, because sometimes the smallest mistakes can create the biggest fortunes, and the next multi-million-dollar coin could be sitting right in front of you, waiting to change your life forever. And that is the incredible story of the 1980p quarter-dollar coin worth $80 million, a story of errors, possibilities, and the extraordinary value that lies hidden in the ordinary. Next, 1989p quarter dollar, where we explore the fascinating world of coins, treasures, rare discoveries, and the hidden stories behind those small pieces of metal you might carry in your pocket every single day. Coins that most people overlook as just spare change, but that can in fact hold unbelievable value when they contain rare mistakes and errors. And today we are going to take you on a deep dive into one of the most incredible stories in numismatics, the story of the 1989p quarter dollar coin that has shocked the collecting world and continues to amaze people with its staggering estimated value of $43 million. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1989, a year when millions upon millions of quarters were produced, can be worth more than some of the most famous works of art or luxury real estate, all because of the bizarre and rare errors that make it unique and priceless. So let's unravel the reasons, the specific mistakes, the striking anomalies, and the endless possibilities that push this 1989p quarter into the realm of big money. And as we go along, remember that part of what makes coins like this so desirable is not only the technical errors but also the mythology, the stories, and the dreams they inspire, because when something so ordinary transforms into something so valuable, it captivates the imagination in a way that few things can. So starting with the basics, the 1989p quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the busiest mints in the country, and that year saw billions of quarters pressed to meet the demand of commerce. So on the surface there is nothing rare about a 1989p quarter, since they are everywhere and still quite common in circulation. But what makes this particular coin so valuable is a chain of minting errors so unusual and so visually striking that it sets it apart from every other coin produced. One of the most notable errors tied to this 1989p quarter is a dramatic double die obverse, where Washington's profile, the motto "In God We Trust," and the word liberty all appear with doubled lines that give them a ghost-like effect. And this doubling is not faint but bold, visible to the naked eye, and so strong that it instantly marks the coin as an error piece. Doubling of this magnitude is always rare and sought after, and when it happens on such a widely collected denomination like the quarter, it becomes even more valuable. Another error that has been observed on some 1989p quarters is a severe off-center strike, where the design is misaligned on the planchette, leaving a crescent of blank space on one side and compressing the design on the other. And when such off-center strikes still retain a complete date and mint mark, they become especially prized by collectors because they both demonstrate the error and preserve the coin's identity. Then there are the rumors and reports of wrong planchette strikes, where instead of being struck on the normal copper nickel-clad quarter blank some 1989 P quarters were mistakenly struck on dime planches or foreign coin blanks, producing undersized and lightweight coins with designs that spill off the edges. And these wrong planchette errors are among the most exciting discoveries in coin collecting because they prove beyond doubt that something extraordinary went wrong at the mint, further enhancing the mystique of the coin. But the errors don't stop there, as die clashes have also been reported, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving behind faint ghostly images of the eagle from the reverse imprinted onto the obverse behind Washington's head, giving the coin an eerie and fascinating look. This type of clash error is highly collectible because it creates designs never intended by the mint, accidental yet strangely artistic. Some examples are also said to feature rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by significant degrees, making the coin look abnormal when flipped, and rotation errors of this magnitude are always rare and desirable. And imagine a single coin that combines all these mistakes together: a double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchette, a die clash, and a rotated die. The odds of that happening are astronomically low, and yet if one such coin exists, it would easily justify the $43 million valuation, because in the world of numismatics, rarity and uniqueness are the ultimate drivers of value, and this coin is believed to be unique, or at least one of only a tiny handful in existence. Beyond the physical errors, the historical context also adds weight to its value, because 1989 was a transitional period leading into the 1990s and eventually to the massive state quarters program that launched in 1999. So errors from the late 1980s are seen as precursors to the modern quarter collecting craze, adding another dimension of significance. And the discovery story of this legendary 1989p quarter only fuels the fire further, because according to reports it was not pulled from a dealer's case or a collector's hoard but rather found in ordinary circulation, handed over as change in an everyday transaction until a sharp-eyed individual noticed the impossible combination of errors, and that story of discovery instantly transforms the coin into a legend, because it proves that unimaginable fortune can be hiding in plain sight. It is that dream of finding treasure in your pocket change that keeps collectors searching, keeps enthusiasts excited, and keeps the legend alive. When we talk about $43 million for a single coin, it may sound extreme, but consider the fact that famous rarities like the 1933 double eagle have already sold for over $18 million, and the 1794 flowing hair dollar for over $10 million, and neither of those coins had the spectacular minting errors of this 1989p quarter. They were valuable primarily for their rarity and historical significance. So, when you add in multiple dramatic errors, visual uniqueness, and a powerful discovery story, the $43 million figure actually becomes believable, especially in a world where wealthy collectors, investors, and museums are willing to pay any price to secure a one-of-a-kind piece of history. And remember that coin collecting is not driven solely by logic. It is fueled by passion, competition, and the desire to own something no one else can have. So the price ceiling can go as high as demand will push it. Some experts even speculate that if this coin were to be placed in a major global auction with full publicity, its value could exceed $43 million and set records as one of the most expensive coins ever sold. perhaps even challenging the top rarities of all time, and that possibility keeps it in the spotlight and ensures that people will continue to dream of finding another. Because if one such 1989p quarter exists, there might be another still hiding somewhere in a drawer, a coin jar, or a bankroll, and that thrill of possibility is what makes this hobby so magical. It turns the act of checking your change into a treasure hunt, open to anyone and everyone. So when we look at the 1989p quarter worth $43 million, we are not just looking at a coin. We are looking at a piece of history, a mistake made permanent in metal, a symbol of how accidents can sometimes create treasures, and a reminder that the smallest details can hold the greatest fortunes. So next time you handle a quarter, take a close look, check for doubling, check for off-center strikes, check for unusual weights and sizes, because you never know when you might be holding the next great discovery, the next multimillion-dollar rarity that could change your life forever. And that is the incredible and inspiring story of the 1989p quarter-dollar coin, a coin born of errors, valued for its mistakes, and celebrated as one of the most remarkable treasures in numismatics. Next, 1988d quarter dollar, where we dive deep into the incredible world of coins, treasures, and rare discoveries that prove beyond a doubt that sometimes the smallest and most ordinary-looking things can hide unimaginable value. Today we are going to explore one of the most mind-blowing stories in the entire numismatic hobby, the tale of the 1988d quarter-dollar coin that has stunned collectors and historians alike because of the jaw-dropping combination of minting errors and mistakes that have pushed its value into an unbelievable estimated worth of $54 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single quarter minted at the Denver Mint in 1988, a coin most people would assume to be common and worth only face value, has through a unique set of circumstances and extraordinary anomalies become one of the most valuable error coins in history. And in today's video we will break down why this coin is so valuable, what errors it contains, how these mistakes came to exist, and why collectors are willing to pay such staggering sums to own a piece of history like this. So let's begin by remembering that 1988 was not an unusual year for quarters in terms of production volume. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of them, all with the familiar copper nickel-clad composition and the portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle on the reverse. So at first glance there should be nothing special about a 1988D quarter, and yet out of those hundreds of millions a few slipped through with such rare errors that they instantly transformed from common coins into multi-million-dollar rarities. One of the most talked about errors on the 1988D quarter is the doubled die obverse, a striking minting mistake where the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1988 along with the mint mark D all appear with strong doubling visible to the naked eye. The letters and numbers almost appear as though they are shadowed or ghosted, giving the coin a surreal and unmistakably rare appearance. This kind of doubling happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts or is misaligned during hubbing. And while doubled dies exist for other dates, the one on the 1988D is so bold and clear that it immediately stands out as something extraordinary. But that is just the beginning, because this coin is also reported to show an extreme off-center strike, where the design of Washington's portrait and the eagle on the back are pushed dramatically to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal on the other, and collectors particularly value off-center strikes where the date and mint mark remain visible because it proves authenticity and makes the coin identifiable. And in the case of this 1988D era coin, that combination of dramatic misalignment with a preserved date and mint mark is one of the keys to its immense value. Then we come to another category of mistakes that make this coin almost mythical: wrong planchette errors, because some examples of the 1988D quarter have been discovered struck not on quarter planches but on dime planches, foreign coin blanks, and even experimental planches being tested for later series. These wrong planchette errors result in coins that are the wrong size, the wrong weight, or the wrong thickness, and sometimes even reveal partial designs spilling off the edge of the coin. And whenever a quarter is struck on the wrong planchette, it becomes an instant rarity, But when it is a 1988D with dramatic doubling and off-centering on top of that, it pushes the uniqueness into once-in-a-lifetime territory. As if that were not enough, there are reports of die clash errors on these coins as well, where the obverse and reverse dies collided without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly outlines of the eagle impressed faintly behind Washington's head or parts of his portrait showing faintly on the reverse. And these clash marks make the coin look almost like an unintentional piece of abstract art, adding another layer of collectability. There are also rumors of rotated die errors, where the alignment of the obverse and reverse is significantly off. So when you flip the coin, instead of Washington's head lining up perfectly with the eagle, the designs are rotated, sometimes as much as 90 or even 180 degrees. These kinds of errors are instantly recognizable and always excite collectors, and in combination with the other mistakes, they elevate the 1988D quarter into an almost legendary status. Now let us talk about why the value is so high. Because when we say $54 million for a quarter, it may sound impossible, but it begins to make sense when you think about rarity, demand, and story. Rarity because this particular 1988D quarter is believed to be unique or one of only a handful in existence with such a dramatic series of overlapping errors. Demand because error coins have surged in popularity as collectors hunt for unusual and spectacular pieces, and story because this coin is said to have been discovered not in a major auction or in a collector's vault but in ordinary circulation, handed out as change in a grocery store or gas station, overlooked by dozens of people until one lucky and observant person recognized what it truly was, and that story instantly transforms the coin into a legend, because it proves that unimaginable fortune can be found hiding in plain sight, and that idea electrifies people, inspiring them to search their own change, to buy rolls of quarters from the bank, to dream that they too might stumble across a life-changing treasure. And it is that combination of technical rarity, collector demand, and romantic discovery that pushes the coin into the multimillion-dollar category. Some experts argue that the coin's estimated $54 million value might even be conservative, because if it were ever placed in a major global auction with full media coverage, the bidding war between wealthy collectors, museums, and institutions could drive the price even higher, possibly surpassing all known records for a Washington quarter and ranking among the most expensive coins in history. And that possibility is what keeps the legend alive. Now let's take a step back and compare this to other famous coins, like the 1933 double eagle that sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar that sold for $10 million. Those coins were valuable largely due to their rarity and historical significance, but the 1988D quarter has something even more spectacular: multiple overlapping minting errors that make it a one-of-a-kind. A coin that not only represents history but also the fallibility of the minting process itself. A coin that shows how even in a system designed for perfection, mistakes can slip through and create treasures. And that is what collectors find irresistible. So imagine holding this coin in your hand. A simple quarter in appearance, but with doubling that makes the inscriptions leap off the surface, with an off-center strike that leaves part of the coin blank, with a weight and size that feels unusual because it was struck on the wrong planchette, with ghostly clash marks that make it look like a piece of abstract art, with designs that are rotated when flipped, and realize that you are not just holding 25 cents. You are holding a once-in-a-lifetime artifact worth more than most mansions, yachts, all works of fine art, and that realization is why this coin commands its massive valuation. And it is why collectors will never stop hunting, searching, and dreaming, because coins like the 1988D quarter remind us that the extraordinary can be hiding in the ordinary, that fortune can be found in the most unexpected places, and that the history of our money is filled with stories that rival any legend. So the next time you see a quarter with a D mint mark from 1988, take a close look, study the date, the mint mark, the inscriptions, the alignment, the weight, because you never know when one of those small discs of metal might turn out to be a $54 million treasure. waiting to change your life forever. And that is the story of the 1988 D $quarter coin, a coin born from mistakes, elevated by rarity, fueled by collector passion, and celebrated as one of the most remarkable and valuable coins ever to emerge from the world of numismatics. Next, 1995 P $quarter. Today we are going to dive deep into the fascinating story of a seemingly ordinary 1995 P Washington quarter, a coin that at face value is worth just 25 cents, but because of a wild combination of minting errors, production mistakes, and unique circumstances, it has been valued at a staggering $40 million. Yes, that's right. A single quarter struck in Philadelphia in 1995 has become one of the most valuable coins in existence, and in this discussion we will explore exactly why this coin is so valuable, what errors make it stand out, how such mistakes could have happened at the US Mint, what kinds of possibilities this coin represents for collectors and treasure hunters, and why it is considered one of the most sought-after and mysterious coins in modern numismatic history. So sit back and imagine the story unfolding, because you will not want to miss a single detail of how this small piece of metal has captured the imagination of coin collectors, investors, and historians alike. Now to begin with, let's talk about the era in which this coin was produced. The mid-1990s were a period of mass production for Washington quarters. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and circulated all across the United States. These coins featured the familiar obverse portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan and the reverse featuring the iconic eagle with spread wings. But among the millions produced, one or two escaped the mint with errors so rare and dramatic that they turned this common coin into a multi-million-dollar marvel. One of the most significant errors on the 1995 P quarter is the double die obverse. This happens when during the hubbing process the die receives multiple impressions that are not perfectly aligned, creating a doubling effect on inscriptions, numbers, or parts of the design. Imagine looking at the date 1995 and seeing the numbers appear shadowed and doubled, or examining the word liberty and noticing that each letter is duplicated in a way that is sharp and unmistakable. Even the motto "In God We Trust" may appear doubled, creating a dramatic and visually stunning effect that collectors instantly recognize as a prized error. But the doubling alone would not push this coin into the stratosphere of value. It is the combination of multiple errors that makes it unique. For instance, another dramatic mistake that appears on this coin involves the mint mark itself. The Philadelphia Mint Mark P in some cases was applied incorrectly, resulting in repunched mint mark varieties where the letter P appears doubled or slightly misplaced. This creates yet another layer of uniqueness, and when combined with the double die obverse it becomes incredibly rare. Then consider off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly aligned during striking, leading to a design that is shifted to one side and leaving a blank crescent of metal exposed. Some 1995 quarters show as much as 30% off-center strikes while still retaining visible dates and mint marks, making them highly desirable. And then we get to perhaps the most dramatic type of error of all, wrong planchette strikes, where a quarter design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. This could mean the 1995 quarter might weigh less or more than a standard quarter, appear slightly undersized or oversized, or show parts of the design cut off because the planchette was too small. In some rare cases, US coins were even struck on planchets meant for coins of other countries, making them extremely collectible and valuable. This particular 1995 P quarter that has been valued at $40 million is said to combine multiple errors including a double die obverse, an off-center strike, a misaligned or repunched mint mark, and a wrong planchette striking, along with traces of die clash where the obverse and reverse dies collided without a planchette in between, leaving faint impressions of the eagle behind Washington's head and parts of Washington's profile ghosting on the reverse. The coin may also show signs of broad strike errors, where the collar die failed during striking and caused the coin to expand outward, creating a wider appearance with distorted rims. and in some cases rotated die errors where the alignment between obverse and reverse is off by as much as 90 or 180 degrees. These overlapping and stacked errors are what make this coin essentially one of a kind, because while any one of these errors is rare and collectible, the odds of them appearing together on the same coin are astronomically low, making this a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now let's talk about the condition of the coin, because condition, or grade, plays a massive role in determining value. This particular 1995 P quarter is said to have survived in nearly mint state condition, meaning it still retains its original luster, sharp details, and minimal wear despite being nearly 3 decades old. The combination of pristine preservation and spectacular errors makes it irresistible to collectors, and when such a coin surfaces it tends to ignite fierce bidding wars at auction houses, driving the price higher and higher until it reaches levels like $40 million. People often wonder how a coin that was mass-produced in the millions could possibly be worth that much, and the answer lies in rarity, uniqueness, and demand, because numismatics is not just about the metal content of a coin but about the stories coins tell, and this coin tells one of the most incredible stories of modern minting mistakes. It is an accidental masterpiece that no mint official could ever intentionally create, and yet it exists, and that makes it priceless in the eyes of those who collect and preserve history. Now let's imagine for a moment how this coin was discovered. Perhaps it was given as ordinary change at a grocery store, or maybe it sat unnoticed in a coin jar for years until one sharp-eyed collector examined it under magnification and realized something extraordinary was staring back at them. The thrill of that moment, the realization that a simple quarter could be worth tens of millions of dollars, is what fuels the passion of coin collecting around the world. Because if a coin like this could slip through the mint's quality control and end up in circulation, then treasures could be hiding anywhere, in pockets, drawers, piggy banks, and collections waiting to be rediscovered. This sense of possibility is what makes people search their coins carefully, hoping to find the next great rarity, and the story of the 1995 P quarter worth $40 million has inspired thousands to do exactly that. Now let's put this coin in perspective with other famous rarities. The 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle sold for over $18 million. The 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar fetched $10 million. And other legendary coins like the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel and 1804 Drake Bust Dollar have sold for millions as well. But what makes the 1995 P quarter unique is that it is not an ancient or limited edition coin. It is a modern circulation strike coin, something that theoretically could have ended up in anyone's hands, and yet its combination of errors catapults it into the same league as those legendary rarities. Some experts even argue that because it represents the possibility of extraordinary errors in modern coins, it might hold even greater appeal for certain collectors, and that is why its valuation has soared into the tens of millions, beyond what most people could ever imagine for a quarter. Think about holding it in your hand, feeling its unusual weight due to the wrong planchette, seeing the doubling on the date 1995 and the letters of Liberty, noticing the off-center strike that leaves part of the rim blank, turning it over to find the eagle misaligned and partially clashed with Washington's portrait, and realizing that this is not just pocket change, it is a piece of history, a coin that tells a story of minting mistakes, human error, and the randomness of chance, a coin that by pure accident became a treasure. This realization is what makes coin collecting so magical. The idea that small everyday objects like coins can carry within them mysteries, histories, and fortunes, and this 1995 P quarter embodies all of that. It is the perfect symbol of how mistakes can sometimes produce beauty and value beyond imagination. So next time you come across a 1995 quarter from Philadelphia, take a closer look, study the date, check the mint mark, examine the rims and strike, because who knows, you might just be the next person to uncover a rare era coin that could change your life forever. And that is the incredible story of the 1995 P quarter dollar coin worth $40 million, a coin that proves once again that hidden treasures are out there, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a bit of luck to discover them. Next, 1997 p quarter dollar. Today on this exciting deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare coins and hidden treasures that can appear in the most ordinary places like your pocket change, your coin jar, or even the cash drawer at a local shop. Today we are going to talk about a remarkable and mind-blowing discovery, the story of a 1997 p Washington quarter that, despite its small size and face value of just 25 cents, has achieved a staggering valuation of $32 million. Because of the unbelievable combination of errors and mistakes that occurred during its production at the Philadelphia Mint. And in this episode we are going to explore in incredible detail why this coin is so valuable, what kinds of minting errors make it such a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, how these mistakes could possibly happen at one of the most sophisticated mints in the world, what possibilities this coin represents for collectors and everyday people, and why it stands as one of the most astonishing numismatic finds of modern times. So sit back and let's journey together through the rich details of this story, because once you hear how this single coin became worth $32 million, you will never look at your spare change the same way again. The first thing to understand is the context of 1997, when millions upon millions of Washington quarters were being struck. The design by John Flanagan on the obverse featured George Washington's profile with the inscriptions, "Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust," the date 1997, and a small mint mark identifying the Philadelphia Mint as P, while the reverse depicted the classic heraldic eagle with spread wings and a bundle of arrows. The design itself was familiar and unremarkable to most Americans who handled these coins every day, but among the countless ordinary quarters struck that year, one escaped the mint with such extraordinary errors stacked on top of each other that it instantly catapulted from ordinary change to priceless rarity, and that is the coin we are discussing today. One of the first and most important errors on this coin is the double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been improperly hubbed, receiving two or more impressions that were not perfectly aligned, creating noticeable doubling on inscriptions or features of the coin. So if you were to look closely at this 1997 p quarter, you would see the numbers in the date 1997 appear doubled, almost like a ghost image or a shadow sitting right beside the original numerals, and the word Liberty itself appears as though it has been written twice, with each letter having a distinct doubled outline. And even the motto "In God We Trust" shows a remarkable doubling effect. This kind of error is highly collectible on its own, but what makes this particular coin so unique is that it also exhibits additional errors that amplify its rarity beyond imagination. One such error is a dramatic off-center strike, meaning that when the blank planchette was fed into the press it was misaligned, causing the design to be struck off-center, sometimes by as much as 30% or more, creating a coin where part of the design is missing and a crescent-shaped blank area of metal remains visible. In this 1997 p quarter, the off-center strike is perfectly placed so that the date and mint mark are still visible, which is an important factor for collectors, because having those identifying details intact makes the error more desirable and valuable. But the story does not stop there. This coin also shows evidence of being struck on the wrong planchette, which is one of the most dramatic minting mistakes imaginable. Instead of being struck on a standard copper-nickel-clad quarter blank, this coin was reportedly struck on a planchette intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, which altered its weight, diameter, and overall appearance, so when you hold it, it feels different in the hand, lighter or heavier than a normal quarter, and the strike itself looks slightly off because the design doesn't quite fit the wrong-sized planchette. And yet again, the date and mint mark are still clearly visible, adding to its incredible collectability. Another fascinating mistake visible on this coin is a repunched mint mark error, where the P mint mark was punched twice, leaving a shadow effect or doubling of the mint mark itself. These small varieties are intensely studied by collectors, and when combined with the other dramatic errors on this coin, it becomes a one-of-a-kind specimen. And to add yet another layer, This coin exhibits die clash marks, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, leaving faint impressions of the reverse eagle visible behind Washington's portrait and traces of Washington's outline ghosting on the reverse. This is one of the most visually stunning types of errors and gives the coin an otherworldly appearance that instantly grabs the attention of anyone examining it. Furthermore, there are suggestions that this coin also displays a rotated die error, where the reverse is misaligned with the obverse by a significant degree, sometimes up to 90 or even 180 degrees. So when you flip the coin over, the eagle does not appear in the expected upright position. Instead, it is tilted dramatically, which is a rare and striking mistake. And if that weren't enough, evidence of broadstrike error is also present, meaning the retaining collar failed during striking and caused the coin to expand outward, making the rim wider and distorted compared to a normal quarter. When you combine all of these errors together, double die obverse, off-center strike, wrong planchette, repunched mint mark, die clash, rotated dies, and broad strike, you have a coin that defies belief, a true one-of-a-kind treasure that simply could not be replicated, and that is why it has been valued at $32 million. Because collectors know that this is not just an error coin, it is a masterpiece of minting mistakes. The odds of all these errors occurring on the same coin are astronomically small, and yet here it is, preserved in nearly mint state condition, with its original luster still intact and its details sharp and clear, which adds yet another layer of value, because condition is king in numismatics, and the fact that such a spectacular error coin survived in near perfect condition is nothing short of miraculous. So how could a coin like this have slipped through the mint's quality control? The Philadelphia Mint is known for its efficiency and precision, but even with the best systems in place, human error and machine malfunctions can still occur. Perhaps a misfeed of planches, a failure in the alignment of the dies, or a momentary lapse in monitoring allowed this extraordinary coin to escape into circulation, and the mystery of how it happened only adds to its allure for collectors. This coin represents more than just a valuable object. It is a story of chance, accident, and discovery. Imagine being the person who first found it. Perhaps it was given as change at a store, or maybe it sat unnoticed in a coin jar for years until someone with a keen eye examined it closely and realized they were holding a fortune. The thrill of that discovery is what drives so many collectors to examine their coins carefully, because treasures like this are out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be found. And the story of the 1997 P quarter worth $32 million has inspired countless people to look at their spare change with new excitement and curiosity. To put this coin in perspective, think of other great rarities like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle that sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar that fetched $10 million, or the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel that has sold for millions. Those coins are legendary, but the 1997 P quarter is unique in that it is a modern coin, mass-produced, something that could have been in anyone's pocket, and yet through an extraordinary set of mistakes it became a one-of-a-kind masterpiece worth more than many of those legendary rarities. This is why the numismatic community has placed such a staggering value on it, because it proves that even in the modern era of advanced minting technology, spectacular errors can and do happen, and when they do, they create treasures of unimaginable worth. Think about what it would be like to hold this coin in your hand, to see the double date, the off-center strike, the wrong planchette, the repunched mint mark, the clash dies, the rotated reverse, and the broad strike all together on one piece of metal, and to know that this small 25-cent coin is now worth $32 million. That is the kind of magic that makes coin collecting so captivating. It is a reminder that mistakes can sometimes produce beauty, rarity. Last 1998 P quarter dollar. Today we are going to talk about the incredible story of the 1998 P Washington quarter that has been valued at a jaw-dropping $10 million because of its extraordinary combination of errors and Mistakes during the minting process. A story that will change the way you look at every coin in your possession. So sit back and enjoy this thrilling exploration as we uncover exactly what makes this coin so valuable, what kinds of minting errors are visible on it, how these mistakes could have possibly happened at the highly sophisticated Philadelphia Mint, and why it has captivated collectors, investors, and treasure hunters from all over the world. Now to begin with some context. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932, and by 1998 the Philadelphia Mint was striking millions upon millions of these coins with the familiar John Flanagan portrait of George Washington on the obverse, along with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the date 1998, and the mint mark P, while the reverse displayed the classic heraldic eagle with outstretched wings holding a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. This design had been in use for decades, but among the many millions of ordinary, perfectly struck quarters that left the mint in 1998, one escaped with such an outrageous combination of mistakes that it elevated itself from being a simple coin worth 25 cents to being a $10 million rarity, one of the most talked about and legendary error coins of modern times. The first error that jumps out when examining this coin is the doubled die obverse, an error that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives multiple impressions from the hub that are not perfectly aligned, causing a dramatic doubling effect on the design elements. On this particular 1998 P quarter, the doubling is extremely prominent on the date 1998, where the numerals appear with a ghostly shadow alongside them, almost as if they have been stamped twice, and the word Liberty is so doubled that each letter has a bold, almost three-dimensional look to it. Even the motto "In God We Trust" appears with doubled outlines, making it instantly noticeable to anyone who examines the coin. This type of error alone is enough to make a coin collectible and valuable, but it is only the beginning of this quarter's story, because it doesn't stop there. Another striking error on this coin is an off-center strike, where the blank planchet was improperly fed into the coin press and the design was struck off to one side, leaving a large crescent-shaped blank space on the coin. In this case the strike is about 20 to 25% off-center, which is dramatic enough to catch the eye, but still preserves the date and mint mark in full view, which is critical for collectors, because having those details visible while still showing such a dramatic error makes the coin even more desirable. But as if the doubled die and off-center strike were not enough, this coin also shows signs of having been struck on the wrong planchet, one of the rarest and most fascinating types of mint errors. Instead of being struck on the standard copper nickel-clad quarter planchet, this particular coin appears to have been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, possibly a dime or even a foreign coin, which alters its weight, diameter, and metallic composition. So when you hold this coin in your hand it feels different from a normal quarter, either slightly smaller, thinner, or lighter, and the design itself appears off because it does not quite fit the wrong-sized planchet. Collectors absolutely love this kind of mistake because it shows just how unpredictable the minting process can be. But the errors continue. Another fascinating feature of this 1998 P quarter is the presence of a repunched mint mark, a variety where the P mint mark was accidentally punched into the die more than once, creating a doubled or shadowed appearance of the mint mark itself. These varieties are intensely studied and collected, and when they appear on an already error-filled coin, they add an extra layer of desirability and value. Further inspection of this coin also reveals die clash marks, which are faint but noticeable impressions of the reverse design on the obverse and vice versa, created when the die struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly images on both sides of the coin. So on the obverse you might see faint outlines of the eagle's wings behind Washington's head, while on the reverse you may catch a glimpse of Washington's profile ghosting behind the eagle. This is the kind of error that creates a truly surreal look to the coin, making it unlike anything else in circulation. Yet the story of this coin still does not end there, because it also shows a rotated die error, meaning that when you flip the coin over, The reverse design does not align properly with the obverse. Instead it is rotated, sometimes dramatically, by 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, creating an unusual and highly collectible misalignment. And to top it all off, this coin exhibits broad strike characteristics, where the collar die that normally keeps the coin's shape during striking failed, causing the coin to spread outward and appear wider and flatter than usual, with missing or distorted rims. This creates an odd appearance that immediately signals to experts that the coin is something extraordinary. Now, imagine all of these errors together on a single coin: double die obverse, off-center strike, wrong planchette, repunched mint mark, die clashes, rotated dies, and broad strike. The combination of all these mistakes makes this coin truly one of a kind, a specimen that simply cannot be replicated, and that is why it has achieved its astronomical valuation of $10 million, because collectors understand that the odds of all these errors occurring on one coin are practically zero, and yet somehow it happened, and this coin survived in nearly mint state condition, retaining its luster and sharp details, making it even more valuable. So how could this happen at the Philadelphia Mint, a facility known for its precision and mass production capabilities? The answer lies in the unpredictable nature of the minting process. Even with modern machinery and strict quality control, accidents still happen. A misfeed here, a die alignment issue there, a planchette mix-up, or even a simple human oversight, all can result in spectacular errors like this, and somehow this coin slipped through all the checks and made its way into circulation, only to later be discovered and recognized for the treasure it truly is. Imagine being the person who first spotted it. Maybe it was handed over as change at a store, or maybe it sat unnoticed in a jar of coins for years until a sharp-eyed collector examined it closely, realizing that they were holding a fortune in their hands. That moment of discovery is part of what makes this story so compelling, because it reminds us that life-changing treasures can sometimes be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and attention to detail to find them. For collectors, this coin is not just a rare object, it is a story of mistakes, luck, and discovery, a story that proves even in the modern age, when minting technology is advanced and precise, incredible errors can still slip through, creating treasures worth millions. When we compare this coin to other legendary rarities, like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle that sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar that sold for $10 million, or the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel that has sold for millions, the 1998 P Quarter stands alongside them not just in monetary value, but in uniqueness, because it is a modern coin, struck in an era when mistakes like this were thought to be virtually impossible, and yet here it is, a spectacular anomaly, a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of minting errors. To hold this coin in your hand would be to hold a piece of history, a reminder that even machines can make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes create something more valuable than perfection itself. So next time you come across a 1998 P Quarter, take a careful look, examine the details, because you never know. One coin in circulation could be worth a fortune, and that possibility is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. And that is the incredible story of the 1998 P Washington Quarter that, through an extraordinary convergence of errors, became worth $10 million, a small piece of metal that proves how mistakes, possibilities, and chance can transform an ordinary object into one of the world's most valuable treasures.